This Polaris Lance Solar Titan build makes GMs and raids feel like normal strikes. Constant healing, constant explosions, champions deleted before they even get a chance to finish their voice lines. So if you slept on Polaris Lance, this is your wake-up call. Let me show you why this combo is actually stupid in in-game right now. If you're new here, I'm Ibetonme. I show no BS builds that actually work in real content, not just target dummies. So today we're rebuilding my old Polaris Lance Titan build from several years ago. However, we're giving it an update to synergize better with the Destiny 2 current sandbox. So this time it's fully tuned for today's in-game. GMs, raids, contests, dungeons, the whole thing. It don't matter. So if you're a Titan main and really love Solar Titans, watch all the way through. See, the power budget on this setup is insane. So here's what this build is built to do in one sentence. Turn every Polaris Lance crit into free survivability, free ability energy, and chain ignitions. So you're not just shooting a scout rifle, you're turning the entire lane into a solar hazard zone that keeps you alive while everything burns. Then if you want to get super aggressive and feisty, you could turn into a solar Rocky Balboa and just knock the hell out of everything, while igniting and burning everything around you while giving you free survivability, unlimited. Now obviously we're on the Solar Titan, however we are using the Burning Maul Super. We're using this thing as a panic button and an ignition bomb, and it does hella damage in DPS phases. So if you're looking for a DPS phase crutch, yeah, this is the super for you. Now we're going to be using the Rally Barricade for our class ability. So we're going to cast that barricade, create those sunspots, proc our Polaris Lance while having some cover if we need to duck down. And when you want to get aggressive, you could proc that barricade under an enemy and melt the bejesus out of him. For our melee, we're going with the throwing hammer. See, we're going to get an infinite melee loop, scorching on hits, and feature fragments. Now I must say it plays into the Thor power fantasy really well. And for our grenade, I'm going with the solar grenade. Now you could choose fusion as well. Just pick whichever you feel more comfortable placing on champs and choke points. Now for our first aspect, we're going with Soul Invictus. Now this is non-negotiable. Soul Invictus is what turn your kills into sunspots and sunspots into survivability and ability energy. Now the second one is Roaring Flames. Now this puts a straight buff to your ability damage. It stacks up ×3 when you're getting solar kills. So here's the loop. Polaris Land crits, you trigger burn and ignitions, kills create sunspots through Soul Invictus, standing in the sunspots, gives restoration, ability regen, it boosts your solar abilities. Now you can throw more grenades, your hammer more often, those ability kills make more sunspots. See, you live inside a feedback loop of fire and healing. Now the fragments is what really locks this thing in. First we have Ember of Ashes, which give more scorch stacks per source. So this means you hit ignition thresholds faster off your Polaris Lance shots and your abilities. Second we have Ember of Solars, which gives you longer restoration and radiant duration so your buffs don't fall off mid-fight. Third, we have Ember of Torches, which is going to make your power melee hits make you radiant. So see, when you're radiant, the Polaris Lance hits even harder and helps with champion staggeration. We have Ember of Empyrean, which makes solar weapons and ability kills extend restoration and radiant. So this turns good survivability into why am I not dying? For our exotic armor, we're going with the Lorelei Splendor Helm. On the Solar Titan, when you pop your barricade or become critically wounded, it's going to create a sunspot at your location. I love using the Lorelei when I'm playing solo GMs or when I don't trust my teammate situation. Like I said, when your health gets chunked or you pop your barricade, you'll drop that sunspot, which could give you restoration ×2. So this keeps you alive through absolutely nonsense, and it lets Polaris play very aggressively. For our main weapon, we're going with the Polaris Lance, obviously. And perk-wise, you're abusing the perfect 5th shot and the Scorch Burn to feed Soul Invictus and your fragments. And the Catalyst is going to give you Dragonfly, which causes precision final blows to trigger a solar elemental damage explosion. For my special weapon, I like running a fusion rifle, but you can run anything to help you clean up close range threats. For my heavy, I'm running a solar machine gun. But for your heavy, you can use anything that you feel comfortable with, whether it's a rocket launcher, sword, linear, or machine gun, it really doesn't matter. The build isn't really picky here, but the most important part is the Polaris Lance is always out, always proccing Scorch, always making things explode. So now let's go over the stats and the mods that we're using on this build. Get your health as high as possible for survivability. Get your class as high as possible so you can constantly proc that barricade, which will give you a stupid amount of sunspots. Get that super as high as possible so you can become an ad clearer and a DPS monster. Now, I'm not going to read over these mods like it's a dissertation. Just know any mods that are on my armor is going to help with my class ability and also my health regeneration. Because you got to understand, the real star of this show is the Polaris Lance. So here's the artifact perks that I'm using on this build. So it's going to help with my weapons performance, my ability to regen, and my damage output. Alright, so by playing with this build, you want to open every fight by placing yourself where you can chain crits with the Polaris Lance safely. Now you're going to tag everything with Scorch, get your first ignitions, and then drop that first sunspot. Now you live in your sunspot, play the lane, and only push when restoration is rolling. Use your melee or throwing hammer on anything that gets too close. See, that gives you radiant and keeps roaring flames stacked. And save your super for this room is legal moments, where you get huge waves, unstoppable rushes, or boss phases with ton of trash. So this thing is money in GMs, raids, dungeons, seasonal in-game, anything with champion spam. If you like playing aggressive but hate dying to random chip damage, this build is for you. So if you made it this far in the video, you're serious about being a Titan. So try this Polaris Lance setup in your next GM, raid, or dungeon and tell me if it broke in game for you in the comments. So let me know some optimized rolls or fragment swaps that you probably would use on this build so I could possibly use it in a future run. So hit that like if I said you're from another trash build video, sub if you want more no BS Destiny 2 breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one. And Titans, get in there and set everything on fire. And if you do want to see my Destiny 2 in-game builds for Titans, Warlocks, and Hunters, I would suggest you watch this playlist next. Also, don't forget to like and sub. You guys have a great day. Peace.